His voice is beautiful, and he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
He is fine.
Yeah. Like when I say like whole, I mean like whole, like universal whole, like whole experience.
World-ending hoes.
Well, booty holes can't always stay ready, but
No, I mean I don't know about y'all, but I plug train.
oh, okay.
I need to do that for real, for real.
Yeah, like get the set, they're fun.
Well, anybody fucking
I had some booty the other day. It was so fucking good.
Anybody doing on my booty hole besides eating it? So
Wow.
Amen.
barely that.
Is it so much hair to the on your hole that you have to like?
Hair?
Nicki
Is that what you
Minaj
said?
said
Yeah.
booty hole
No.
legs.
Okay. Because I like hair on the booty, but if it's too much to the point I can't get to the hole, if I have to tussle with her,
No, like my ass is hairy, but my hole is not.
okay. My hole is a little hairy.
Okay.
She got a whole like hair around her.
Okay.
Oh, I get a Brazilian for.
I need to do that.
I'm never
love
doing
it.
that.
No, I love it. Rip it off. Rip it off. Rip it off.
Okay, you been doing push-ups? Your arms?
They look a little good.
I don't know. Are you summertime fine, Deshaun?
I don't know. The girls may say no,
The
but
kids may say, are you summertime?
What is summertime fine?
thin.
The girls were trying their best to make it seem, oh, slutty waist mean inner waist.
What?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, bars.
So, all weights matter?
Basically.
Okay. So, okay.
We are gathered here today. So what's going on? Am I saying YouTube?
YouTube.
Is it Y-E-W? I really don't like how you be spelling shit randomly. You writers
I'm
are
like
so annoying.
Y-E-W.
Yes, you. Like Barry Baltimore, you.
You.
Hold on, what's I was on them in YouTube.
Have my little nephew trying to watch YouTube.
This bitch just not acting right. What she just rapping right?
Yeah. Nah, I can rap the whole thing.
I know
You ready?
Press play.
Do you have, where the SUVs at?
The black trucks.
The black
But
trucks.
it's cool.
You got on your little coat?
Yeah. Yeah. Me and my niggas in the back. Yeah.
Come on, Burlington coat.
I'm on the motherfucking YouTube. Have my little nephew trying to watch Blue's Clues. And I seen something about a New York rap bitch. Told him, hold tight. I just had to click that shit. Then I'm like, what? My shit must got a virus. This is not a rap bitch. This is Miley Cyrus.
Fucking so sick.
Speaking of Miley Cyrus, she is really the reason. She had 185 extra days to my life. Like,
No, I live for her.
like, and I'm so sad that this Grammy season, like, is a Taylor Swift season because I feel like they're gonna do my girl the way they did Plastic Hearts, and I can't.
I mean, yeah, they've never given her a Grammy and they never will, but that's okay.
it's
That's
okay.
okay.
She
because-
has my Grammy.
Yeah,
She's my winner.
yeah.
But
Summer
it's-
Vacation and Plastic Hearts, two incredible albums.
Non-skippable.
I know.
Justin would know a thing.
I don't.
Oof.
I don't listen to neither one of them.
Oof. You gotta
But okay,
Well, no, we're talking about Plastic Hearts and Summer Vacation are both Miley Cyrus. Taylor Swift was mentioned because she released Midnight, so she's going to sweep the Grammys. But
Was it giving
it's not
mid?
deserved. It's very mid.
I
Midnight's
like
very
the-
mid.
I
I love
like the
Lavender
album.
Haze
Yeah.
and a couple other songs on there, but the whole album itself is just like, it would have been exceptional if she had released it 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. When she was still setting the trend, but I feel like she made a song. There's a way that like top artists, because they get like priority on like beats and sounds and things of that nature, that they make the best version of what sound is popular now. But you're right, Deshaun, if she would have came out with it 10 years ago when that sound was really breaking, she would have cleared.
Yeah, it sounds dated, but no worse than the remix with Ice Spice.
So let's talk about that.
y'all.
Because it's,
Woo!
you know how I feel about
Y'all
Ice
went to
Spice.
white. So we just talking about white women right now? I'm joking. I'm black. She's absolutely.
I'm absolutely black.
I'm not saying that. I'm just let me clarify, because the girls will eat by you fat, because y'all already been hard on the black fats this week.
Okay.
So please don't add me to the. Well, y'all gonna do that anyway, because that's just how they are.
Let's start there.
Okay, so Ice Spice did a song with. She did a remix because the song was already out.
Taylor
Yeah,
Swift.
With Taylor Swift, and this was after the conversation about Taylor Swift's alleged boyfriend, someone she's dating, who has a history of saying racist shit, and also said some very nasty stuff about Ice Spice. Compared her to a fat Hawaiian woman.
Chinese woman.
Yeah, a fat Chinese woman.
What?
Said she had Hawaiian rolls, something like that.
So I have been under a rock, and I saw Taylor Swift Boyfriend, but I only listened to the song and watched the performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so my critique is just very much like, the Ice Spice, for me, is still very much internet famous, and the copy paste onto pop stardom is just like not working. And it's something between Ice Spice's internet popularity and her trying to be like a world famous pop star that's just not clicking. And like,
It's clicking down.
If you put her next to Taylor Swift, the queen of no rhythm,
they swear up and down, homegirl. Her because there was conversation about
Her tour versus Beyonce.
Yeah, and girl, that one black girl who was at Taylor Swift's concert who got chewed the fuck up for being a nigga in a white space was defending the hell out of Taylor Swift. But I'm just not going to a Taylor Swift concert.
I'm just not gonna pay that money.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just not.
Because she's such a famous artist, like, you're gonna pay the premium price, and I'm sorry, but like them super, super A-list artists,
Yeah.
I think the only ones I've ever spent money on, like during her golden age, I saw Lady Gaga took my mama on Mother's Day. She had the time of her life, and Beyonce. I mean, technically, I've seen Onika. I've seen like Lil
I've
Wayne
never
a
seen
whole
her
bunch of
before.
times. Like you talk about A-list rappers, I've seen a bunch of them. But like the pop girls, I've seen Mariah, Beyonce. If you consider Alicia Keys one of them, I saw her in her time. Usher during the Confessions era. Like those are the artists that I would spend a bunch of money to see.
I saw Mariah at Essence Festival, but I like what you brought up about it's not connecting because her internet famous is not connecting with her being on stage. It reminds me of the conversation with Lil Nas X when he was first coming out.
Yeah.
The music, everybody was saying it was going to be a one-hit wonder. The album was really, really good, but the performances have gotten better over time, but they just were not. It seemed like he was uncomfortable for the most part, but he seemed like he's finding his footing. But I've been to a Lil Nas X concert. For the lack of rhythm that Lil Nas X has, he does make up in other areas and stuff. But Ice Spice, there's not been one video I've seen of her perform that's been good.
No.
Every one of them have been terrible.
She's not a good performance, or a good performer, and people keep saying like, "Oh, well, you need to give artists room to develop." I agree, but at some point you have to actually develop,
Right.
Otherwise, it's artist stagnation,
Right.
And so, yeah, I really don't. I don't love how she performs, and I think that so much about what makes her stick right now is the fact that she, one, has done a really good job of putting herself in proximity to artists who are like bigger artists, whether we like them or not,
Very famous.
and has found a way to really like grab hold of the TikTok generation that keeps her popular. And I do think that she makes good music here and there, right? Like her EP has some good songs on it. But you can't just release decent songs and not be a somewhat good performer.
Right.
And right now, she's
Especially when you go on the stage.
Right.
And to the conversation about artists do grow over time. Just like right now, Beyonce's on tour. She started in Europe, and you were talking about how she's kind of changing little things every night.
She
and
works
stuff.
her kinks out when she does the international shows, and I feel like when she does the American shows, they are so fucking polished.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I mean, it's Beyonce. She's already a perfectionist. She's already the Virgo of Virgos. She's already the wealthiest, girl out there. Like, she's gonna be pristine, but like, even Beyonce has kinks to work out. And no artist is ever done developing. Like, and Deshaun, I love that you use artist stagnation, because what happens with, I think, the viral moment of anything, period. I feel like you see this across fields, right? It's like you go viral and then the push is to monetize and like capitalize on that moment. I love how Cardi B put it. Like, she's very much been honest about, a big part of my career is I know I'm here for a good time and possibly not a long time, and I'm gonna eat it up. And like, for me, I feel like Cardi's expansion as an artist, she's a really good example of how to go from viral girl, hoe never gets cold, to fucking pop sensation. And I feel like when you see artists like Cardi B on that trajectory, or even Bit Lotto, like if you're from around Atlanta, like you remember when, Bit Lotto came out and stuff, and she was Grammy nominated this year. It's still a big deal to be Grammy nominated. And I'm like, there's this thing that's not connecting with Ice Spice, and I really feel like she went from viral to like festival stage, and we're also in this post-COVID moment, right, where everybody is back outside and everything that's outside is having to compensate for the holes that are in the industry. We got all these albums that have not been performed, right, because of the pandemic. You have situations like everybody's dead and in jail. If you think about, say, like a Rolling Loud festival, no Young Dolph, no YSL Young Thug, no Gunna, no none of these big marquee artists, and it's like, who do we fill this space with? Well, even if you just limit it to hip hop, like there's not 10 different Lil Babies right now if you're talking about trap rappers to like headline this show. So now you fill in the space with a whole bunch of Ice Spices just to have a lineup, and it's just like, you can't put somebody who makes bedroom hip hop or bedroom pop just on stage, like in front of a Rolling Loud crowd, and expect them to rock if they don't have no development.
Yeah.
And we know the industry do not invest in it.
Yeah, I feel like it's okay for artists to kind of figure out things on stage, but you can't go from elementary algebra to trigonometry.
Right.
Like, you have to have the basis. You can't be, I just can't do this when I'm on stage. Like, you have to know what it is you're doing. You have to feel the music, know when to, hey, I can't rap this part, so I'm just going to dance this part or whatever. Like, you have to find those things, and Ice Spice hasn't done that, which tells me that she has a lot of work to do, because that is part of the artistry. Like, let me figure out how to give my audience a better performance.
Right.
And if you're not doing that, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you want to do that, then continue doing the club stuff.
Right.
Like, because the girls do their 15 minutes, they'll be on the flyer, especially Pride. Hey, such and such is coming.
Like Santana did.
Yes.
And then when Santana finally got to the stage,
Eats it
Santana
up.
fucking ate.
Eats it up.
Right.
Eats it up.
But also, Santana has star personality. Like, he's going to eat whatever lane you put him in.
And he doesn't have a choice.
He doesn't, right.
Doesn't have a choice.
Yes.
But that part is, so I'm someone who actually really, really loves and is often advocating for a return to artist development.
Yeah,
because I think that is very important.
Very important demand.
Right.
Come on, Tiana Taylor right now.
No, but
Yes,
for real, that's
let's
exactly
talk
what
about
she's doing.
it. Let's talk
And I
about
also I want to hold the nuances, because although she has not said this, Ice Spice gives me someone who also has social anxiety.
Same.
So
Same.
I acknowledge that, and I also just acknowledge the fact that it takes a lot to go from literally nobody to be thrown into superstardom.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if I'll call her that, but to go from nobody to something.
There.
Well, we won't go there. We can't. To go from nobody to something overnight, like literally an overnight sensation, right? Like, and to be posted by Drake, one of the world's biggest pop stars, right? And that takes your whole career to new heights. You don't get the chance to develop for real, because now you are working with Nicki Minaj and Taylor Swift overnight. You're getting Cardi B to remix your viral sensation, right? You get a #1 record with Pink Panthers, right? Like, it's a very different, or a top 10 record, I guess I should say. It's a very different trajectory. All that said, you have to be a committed artist if you're going to be an artist who's going to have that big of a career.
Absolutely.
And by committed, that to me, what that means is that every performance that you have shows a different type of growth that you have committed to, right? So we were just talking about Summer Walker. Summer Walker hired Tiana Taylor, came out with a whole different creative direction.
Yeah.
She has social anxiety. And
has
also,
talked about this several times.
talked about it. And also, she hired someone who could work with her social anxiety and amp up her performance.
Yes.
Ice Spice needs to do that as well, or she's not going to stick around.
So she should hire Tiana. And another artist, we were just listening to Chloe before we started recording. She's another one. We literally watched, obviously she and her sister Chloe and Halle, they were viral sensations, discovered by Beyonce. We love them on YouTube. And then, I like that they, so young in their career, have diversified what they're doing. The Grownish run was very important. Chloe being in films is very important. Halle being the damn Little Mermaid is very important. But when you look at them musically, you got the trajectory from YouTube to like the Ungodly Hour during COVID. I mean, they basically patented the virtual concert experience. Like when they did their shit on the tennis court in the backyard, like everybody was like, "Give me a green screen." But like Chloe has beat a lot of her album flop like haters by giving us a sickening tour. Her Atlanta footage saved the album.
Yes.
Just the viral clips
Yes.
from her performance in Atlanta saved the album.
I've not seen one bad clip.
Not
one bad clip.
Not one. But
Save
she's
it to
also
herself.
Beyonce's child. Artist development. Nobody, I can't imagine anybody who would put you into a developmental system that would take you from YouTube to festival stage and international touring like a Beyonce boot camp. I agree. Like, making the band, we make a sensation out of it, but like, that shit showed you. Like, they were constantly in rehearsal, constantly re-recording songs, constantly learning how to sing together, constantly learning how to be a group. And it just doesn't feel like that, and we know the age that we live in. I mean, another one, like Megan Thee Stallion, her moment, she's in a different moment right now, and I'm very excited to see what she does next with her career, because Meg has explicitly said in her most recent interview, she's not worried about music right now. She's very in a Rihanna mood.
But also, she just put out an album literally last year.
Right.
I didn't even think about that. I was thinking just like, God damn.
An album that finally got Meg right. And now
Right.
she's doing the same thing with her style. And I'm just like, I know she's healing. My heart goes out to her. I love her and I love the space that she's in right now because, again, the evolution of Megan Thee Stallion, we're going to look back the trajectory from Tina Snow to whatever's coming next. You're going to see her commitment to development and evolution.
And you know what? I think that's a really good point because I think that artists like Ice Spice, now this is me talking at what I'm not knowledgeable of what her contract is or what it requires, but artists take for granted the room and space that they are granted to be able to actually develop into a bigger artist. Megan put out projects that I was not proud of after Tina Snow. I thought that Fever, I thought that Sugar, I thought that Good News were not good projects. They just weren't. They had some good songs on them, but they weren't great projects. But she was also putting out projects under a really predatory label that she was trying her hardest to get out of. These other artists don't have that story, or if they do, it's not as a public of a story as Megan's was. And so, you know, for her, to me, what I consider is she went from Tina Snow to Something for the Hotties to Traumazine. That's her trajectory for me.
Yeah.
And the rest of them were just like requirements to get out of a contract, which is true too for Something for the Hotties. But she allowed herself the room to actually develop, like you said, as an artist, but also as a person, right? The Megan Thee Stallion that we're seeing now after her months-long hiatus following the trial with Tory Lanez, right? Like, that Megan that we're seeing now is one who has grown as a person, as an artist, and has committed herself, I think, to showing up much differently than she was before because she probably recognizes that people are going to take advantage of her. And not defend her in the ways that she deserves to be defended. So I appreciate the development that Megan has undergone, and if Megan can do that under all the predatory, violent shit that she's experienced, artists who don't have that story should be able to do the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think there's been conversation about Ice Spice being she shouldn't have done that song remix with Taylor Swift, considering the things that Taylor Swift's boyfriend has said, and that Taylor Swift is obviously using her.
It makes me think a lot about when Ariana Grande did the Pink Trap House rip off for Seven Rings, and then
did
got
the
2 Chainz on the remix as a sort of like, oh, I'm sorry, here's my oopsie, my white girl oopsie.
And 2 Chainz got her on the R&B record.
Oh, right. And one of the biggest single from the album that came after it, Rapper Go to the League. Yeah, what is it? Rule the World? Yeah.
It was in my head.
One of his biggest pop hits has Ariana on the hook. So I mean, like, you see it happen, but it's just, I'm never gonna agree with no shit like that because we know what it means to go grab a black person to just like make everything better. And I'm like, the fact that people even went for it, I feel like even if it would have been a good song with Ice Spice and Taylor Swift, just the strength of the
So you're saying the song is not good?
I don't like it.
No, it's a horrible song. It was a horrible decision. It was rushed. It wasn't a good song. They don't sound good. And it was very clearly her being used, and she just went with it. Like, girl, Taylor Swift is on fucking podcast talking about something. Ice Spice is the one to look at. She's just the next one up.
What?
Ice Spice, out of all the incredible women in rap right now, you have got to be shitting me. Like, and it's not like I said, I do enjoy some of her music.
I do.
But there are some incredibly talented women who are rapping right now. Taylor Swift, there's no way in the world that she thinks that about Ice Spice, or she does not listen to rap.
I think that's what it is.
One of the other.
I think that's. I think she. This is the acceptable ground I'm watching and paying attention to.
Well,
but I also just thought about how you responded, and we have to constantly say we have to add like some things on it. When we I'm fucking tired of doing that.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking tired of doing that. I know some of you girls are scared to critique her. I'm not saying anybody on this like conversation, but why? Why is there? Why? I mean, we do it with everybody else, and I brought up when the City Girls came out.
They caught a lot of
They
like the period era and the project after that, like when they
when what's her name went to jail.
Yeah,
JT.
When it was just
was pregnant.
Yes, when Young Miami was just performing by herself. Y'all were eating them up, and I was critiquing. I was like, "Girl, Young Miami, we got to figure it out."
It was literally like, "I gotta work this contract out. We are City Girls. I'm City Girls." Like they told me, hello, get up 10. Like,
and nobody had any issues with dragging the fuck. And the world was actually against Young Miami at the time. She had been through so much shit, and it wasn't her fault. Like she didn't want to do music.
Yes,
she did it for her friend, and her friend went to jail. And she was dealing with her own stuff. She still got her ass out there and made it happen.
Yeah. Right.
Even when people were dragging the fuck out of her. Maybe the growing y'all. Like, so why is that so hard for us to critique Ice Spice? Why is it so hard for people to just say, hey, you know what? She's not really a good performer. She's not. Why is that?
And we didn't say it wasn't room for improvement. That's been what the whole conversation has been about. I think for us to
spent 20 minutes critiquing that. Didn't even get into anything about colorism.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello? See, we spent 20 minutes giving props and saying this and that, never mentioned colorism. Because y'all think that's where the conversation is, just that. But we can get to that too. We can
get into it. But I also think too, what's important with all these artists is the way that like black trauma doesn't register as injury. And when you talk about these trajectories, because I'm going to go the Tina Turner way, but I think when you look at Megan, Carisha, all these instances of artists, especially female women artists, who have gone through intense traumas, especially early in their career, when we talk about their transformation and them coming out as new people, as somebody, all of us are trauma survivors, but like I've immediately been through a traumatic thing and I'm like a completely different person, because when you focus on healing in an intentional way, you do come out a different way. You are a different person, but even if you don't heal, it's very hard for you to transcend the traumatized trope, the victim trope. Like even with us trying to grapple with the immense loss of Tina Turner, so much of her narrative is discovered by a demon, subject to terror and trauma, and her career on the other side of it is this overcoming. But we always have to remember her trauma so that we can appreciate her career. And as somebody who grew up in the South, from Macon, Georgia, the city that gave the world Little Richard and Otis Redding, where, James Brown came up from Augusta to be famous, right? Tina Turner was like more lore to me than like artists growing up. Like that's how important her sound and what she did for music, for Southern music, for rock and roll, for everything. Like that's the Tina I know. But it's like to constantly see her in life and death be reduced to trauma, and then what she became on the other side is, I think, really important to contextualize the way a lot of these artists are considered transformative and doing something different and all these beautiful things, but they just survived hell to get there. And so when I see Carisha Please, I'm like, everybody got a podcast. Yeah. And did she go through Diddy and all of that stuff? Yeah, but also like this part of her career, I feel like I'm grateful that she get to like take a break and just
Yeah.
do some fun shit because she went through hell the first part of her career.
Was she? She was on one of them TV shows, was it not?
BMF.
Yes. What she
Beach,
said?
where my husband? What's my husband?
Oh,
Oh, we have to see if it's the past.
yes.
So, since we talked about, we spent 20 minutes discussing Ice Spice and all of the things. Now, is it safe to talk about how she's able to move in the industry so quickly?
We can.
Because desirability.
What's that?
What is desirability?
What is desirability?
What is it, Deshaun?
Or is it desired capital? Which one is it?
What is it? Deshaun, is it pretty privileged?
Conventionally attractive.
It might be.
But all of it is what? Anti-Blackness.
Anti-Blackness
Wake
is
it
true.
up.
Yeah, without doing too much and being, as the girls call me, too academic.
In the ways in
Let's
which-
keep it accessible, babe.
Let's keep it accessible.
I think you always do a pretty good job with that.
I do. But the girls...
I put a definition of it in a minute and you
Right.
go back and check out in the middle.
But, there is such a thing called desire capital. It's just like other types of capital, right? It's things that can be bought, exchanged, traded, right? To give people access to more things or higher up on certain class statuses or caste statuses. And, to borrow from thinkers like Frank B. Wooderson and Jared Sexton.
That's right.
There, is something called the libidinal economy, which is to say that, there are particular forms of capital, or rather that desire is something that, how do I want to explain this? That desire is something that really is subconscious, that we are coerced into by way of the world being created through anti-Blackness, that determines how we move, how we show up in the world, who we befriend, who we fuck, who we date, how we are hired and not hired, who is homeless and who is not homeless, who dies and who does not die, all these things, right, that are determined by the libidinal economy. So that is desire, that's desirability, that's desire capital. Ice Spice is this cis, thin or non-fat, light-skinned woman, right, and therefore has a certain amount of desire capital under the libidinal economy that grants her particular types of access that others do not, right? Her claim to fame is through the fact that Drake wanted to fuck her. Or at the very least, that she had proximity to Drake and there was a sexualized tension that led to her becoming famous through the song Munch, right? Which is also about sex. So there is a particular there's a particular currency associated with her that allows her to become Ice Spice as we know her. That she cannot be divorced from the ways that people want to fuck her or find her to be desirable. And therefore colorism and anti-fatness and all other types of violence are associated with her rise to fame.
Period.
Look how you ate that up.
And did. Straight through. Damn.
Left not a crumb.
Not one fucking crumb. I've just been very tired of the conversation and saying that, well, she's just having fun. That's why we like her, because she's having fun.
Yeah, black girl joy, right? But this is what happens when you brand a mood, right? And amplify a mood, and you try to market a mood. Like, there's a conversation to be had about pop culture in general right now, where the mainstream pop girls of it all patented, the bedroom pop sound. So the Billie Eilish, like, DIY, like, upstart music, right? That goes viral, and then, you get put on the hamster wheel. And I'm like, Ice Spice very much fits in that discourse. But again, like, her being black is a very different way of entering that conversation. Mm-hmm. But again, Deshaun, with you laying out the way desirability works, if an artist is going to get access to even trying to navigate a space like that, they're going to pitch an Ice Spice to try to make a black entry. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that is embodying this mood, this young, maybe like older teenager, early 20s, person that's outside having fun. It's just her mood. You know what I'm saying? Like that's Ice Spice's catch. That is her appeal to the TikTok generation, right? The people that are her stans are emulating her mood. Like, I think there's a way to capitalize on that, but we also have to recognize the way desirability plays into the sex and the alluring, the thing that the desire that's dripping from an Ice Spice mood. Like, I think that's the circulation and a big part of her that's the way her capital circulates, and that's what keeps her, that gives her a bit of currency for navigating the music space.
Wow. So there's been a conversation about other black female rappers who do not like them comparing their careers versus Ice Spice careers. And I have done that before, and I've said specifically with Flo Milli, I've seen her in concert. I enjoyed it. I went to go see her, one of the best concerts I've seen. And Flo Milli tweeted, she said she think it's lame, like, don't do that. And also Ari Lennox did it as well. And I said I was not going to name specific artists. I'll just say that it does happen. What do you all think about when people do those comparisons? Because I know sometimes it isn't in good faith. I do think that some people do use it because they don't like Ice Spice. I'm not a fan of Ice Spice. I'll play her music. I'm not anti-Ice Spice. But I am anti-seeing other black female rappers who are putting out good music, who are having fun and doing real good performances. And I'm not seeing them get the same attention. Yes, they're doing things. They're Bree Runway, like, is doing amazing things, but we can't act as if she would have a song with Taylor Swift.
No, we cannot.
Flo Milli doesn't have a song with a Taylor Swift.
And Flo Milli should.
Not even a retweet, not even a follow, no nothing.
Yeah, and Flo Milli should.
In fact, Ice Spice is the first black woman Taylor Swift has ever collaborated with.
Whoa. Yeah. She don't have nothing with Onika, huh?
No.
No, I was just saying. No, and that was.
They have performed together, but they don't have an official song together.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, maybe Onika, but yeah, no.
And
it was like me thinking like,
and that's Onika.
Yeah,
that's Onika.
And they're peers.
2011.
Right, and they're peers. Like,
right.
That's another part. That's what I always point out. Like, when we have the Nicki Minaj versus Cardi discourse and all the things, who is the queen of rap? I'm like, when we have the Onika conversation, her peers are Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, and Taylor Swift. Onika is a pop star for her time.
Yeah.
And so if she could not get the Taylor Swift of it all, like, it matters in a very real way. And especially coming out of a period when the EDM craze was also biting a lot of Southern hip hop, when you had like Katy Perry collaborating with 3 6 Mafia and Juicy J on certain tracks at that time, and it was one of the biggest songs and biggest sounds in the world. We had Mike Will Made It doing, a Miley Cyrus project, which I will always stand Mike Will for being a trap rapper who did fucking pop, and then experimented with a Miley Cyrus and came back south and gave us Ray Shrimmer. And Ray Shrimmer to me is a hip hop act, but they're a hip hop pop act. Like, they're eating the Spider-Verse soundtracks up, right? And shout out to Metro Boomin, because that fucking soundtrack, that soundtrack is
oh my god,
amazing.
And he had a little cameo in the movie.
Yeah,
too,
he
right?
did. Yeah.
His voice is beautiful, and he's fine.
He is fine.
Yeah. You're not serious people. You're not a serious. I love you.
Off.
I love you, but you are not a serious person.
Not when it comes to dick, because I go stupid on it.
Now.
Not serious. Check my technique. Watch my. But and see how we're having a conversation about this and none of us are angry.
No.
And I think that's the misconception. Y'all are upset. No, girl, I'm just calling the thing. When I speak on Ice Spice and say other shit, girl, I go on and do my thing. It's just I'm making a comment about some stuff.
Right. I talk about this shit the same way that I talk sports. I can talk to you about my favorite team until I'm blue in the face, and whether they win or lose, I'm gonna pick them apart just like the other team.
Period.
Because I'm like, yeah, we had to win on defense because nobody could run the fucking ball. Like, I'm just as mad at my team as I am happy that they won, or I'm really willing to commend another team. It's not. Yeah, it's never about personal attachment to an artist, so much so that I can't see things for what they are. I think we have to be very careful with politics, sports, music, any of these topic areas, because it's like you get this affective hold on you where you want to be defensive. I see it all the time in like Southern studies and shit. It's like people be so like ready to go to war about the South that it's like, okay, yeah, but like let's critique this concept. And I'm not, like, I have to let go of my love for where I am to see the criticism for what it needs to be.
So how do you feel about when the comparisons? Do you think that it is wrong for someone to make a comparison of said artist versus Ice Spice, like trajectory?
So I have made the
Well, I was asking T first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
You're gonna let them cook.
They was ready too.
I know the answer. No. And I love that. I think with the comparison, it's very funny because remember yesterday you and I offline were trying to have a conversation about, we were having a conversation about Meghan Markle and colorism.
Mm-hmm.
Or was that me and you, Deshaun?
That was me and you.
Yeah, that was me and Deshaun. See, look, joint custody.
Are you getting fat, dark-skinned people confused?
No, you guys share custody of me, and I had a whole day yesterday.
You know they love
Well,
saying.
you asked a light-skinned person their opinion on colorism before.
No,
me.
you did. Let's just talk about where this is going. You see?
Cut! See what I was doing? I was trying to get you to.
Right.
Yeah. In the sense that.
Oh, that's no. In the sense that, no. You know what I mean?
Says that, you know what I mean?
Y'all are sick.
Ooh,
Is that not? Is that not?
Ooh, that's not.
Oh God! Oh God!
Oh my
I
God.
have to catch my breath. My head is literally. She
Oh
said,
my
Ooh,
God.
that's,
y'all.
you know what I mean? In the sense
in the sense
It's
that.
the sense that.
But
Okay, go ahead.
I'll answer the question about comparison. But no, where I was going with this, we were talking about Meghan Markle and how she was like, you know, her whole thing with I'm mixed race and blah blah blah, and like I don't think colorism and all of the fluff. But I was like, you know, from a young child, you learn colorism in a very particular way, and especially and as a Southerner, as a light skinned Southerner, the way that colorism has always shown up in my life, like, is the comparison. Is my dark skinned friends are beautiful for being dark skinned girls, but I'm just beautiful. Like, when you hear things like that from age 3, 4, 5 years old, you're going to unconsciously do that anyway. And so I think on the one hand, I will respect the artist's wishes to not do that because I do think that there's a way to have that conversation. But also points of comparison is how we get to a solid critique. Like, if you can't just pick apart one person or a siloed event, you have to have something in comparison, because looking at the state, if we're talking about female rap in general, right, and we're looking at the Flo Millies of the space, which Flo Millie is, gosh, she's one of my faves.
Yes.
But I also feel the same way about Rico Nasty, and I love to collaborate. But like, Rico Nasty, again, she gets shit from the punk space, and she doesn't get a lot of love as a quote-unquote female rapper because they don't know what to do with her because she's not doing anything the other girls have been doing. But when you look at the length of her career, like me and our friend Eva was having a conversation about the Afro-Punk Atlantis from like 2016 or 17 when Rico Nasty performed, and like that's what we were ready to go see. And she has a culture around her, but she gets relegated to niche artists. You know, Flo Millie gets sidelined because of the way that colorism works, even though both of them have mastered the art of performance, full rollout. You talk about they have a brand, they have a creative identity, they have a sound, they're polished. They're not just selling a mood. And well, if the critique on the table is artist development, the girls have developed. And so I don't know how we have that conversation without comparison. But I think if you want to give respect to the artist, yeah, you state your non-bias, but this is just what the fuck it is.
Every time you say mood, all I think about is in her mood.
Well, that's why he keeps saying it over and over.
But she in the mood.
Right, she in her mood. Like, she's selling her mood. Like, I don't know. Is this what, but like my brain is like, is this what I'm supposed to get into? Like, her mood? I don't know. Flo Millie shit. Like,
Flo Millie's concert, I'm telling you, when I went, it was in different areas. Even though there's a homegirl who was drunk as fuck was trying to fight me in that motherfucker.
that was wild.
Yeah.
That's
She was
wild.
like, you Nick. But now, fellow dark skinned person, can you talk about, are you dark skinned this week?
Girl, bye.
Or is it even brown?
We
I'm
have to
always
check in.
dark-skinned.
Is your booty all brown?
My pussy pink. My booty hole brown.
Oh, you have pussy too?
Hello.
That's devastating. Don't
Know
you
the
think?
thing?
In the sense that
You know what I mean?
You don't use it. But what do you like? So, how do you feel about it? Because you do offer a lot of grace to artists and stuff who have to continuously deal with that I wouldn't call it violence, but something where it's like, y'all, the only time y'all are bringing me up is in this.
Yeah.
And are we going anywhere with it?
No, we aren't. Right. So I'm someone who has said before too that if I was Flo Milli, I would also be very tired of the comparisons.
Absolutely.
Not because the comparisons themselves are bad, but because more often than not they are done in bad faith. One and two, she is the only dark-skinned rapper any of these people actually know.
Yeah.
So they don't actually know who else to name either besides Flo Milli, right?
pick it up.
And it's like I would hate for my career to be overlooked by all these people who could also be a part of the millions of Spotify listeners that I have a month, right? But who don't actually pay my music any attention, except when it's to name why I deserve to be in the conversations with a bunch of other light-skinned rappers who, quite frankly, I am miles ahead of.
Yes.
And that would bother me too, right? There is also Bree Runway. There's also Doechii. There's so many other dark-skinned women rappers who deserve to be a part of these conversations. And so in that regard, yeah, I think the comparisons are tired. But I don't think the comparisons themselves are wrong, right? Yes, it is true that Flo Milli and Bree Runway and Doechii and so many other dark-skinned women rappers deserve to have the same level of superstardom that Ice Spice or so many other light-skinned women rappers have that they don't have access to. And I think that my issue with the conversation is that it starts and stops there. It starts and stops at this viral tweet about why Flo Milli deserves to have the audience that Ice Spice has and nothing else, right? There's no push. To me, it should just be, wow, Flo Milli just dropped this hot ass song this week. This the video, I'm gonna post about it on my page, right? And that's what I've dedicated my platform to. Every Friday, I'm posting artists that I'm listening to, new albums I'm listening to, new singles I'm listening to, because they deserve the hype without being mentioned in comparison to somebody else.
Exactly.
Period. And we can have a comparison conversation about the general landscape of the makeup of women rap, right? We can have that conversation. But when we start to individualize things, we get far away from the actual structural violence that's being caused, and we start making it about a one-off situation, and that just sort of confines the conversation and moves us away from where we actually need to be going.
Period.
Well,
It is what it is.
it is. And I don't.
And don't.
You know, in the sense that, you know what I mean?
So basically, it is, yeah, this shit is annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, the conversations are needed, but y'all are not having them in good faith. And I do
The
love
right conversations are not
Well,
being
I
had.
love
Yeah, the right
that.
conversation.
I love the Deshaun L. Harrison quote that's succinct.
Oh,
Like,
Harrison?
Yeah.
Period.
Where
I love
Twitter is a place where nuance goes to die. And
Oh, yeah, you tweeted that.
the reason that I made my statement the way that I just did to respond to your question, Justin, is because both as an academic, but also as, you know, a journalist, as an editor, as a person in media in general, somebody who does social media, any of it, like, I don't know, it's both narrative for artists for me, but then it's also like when we talk about the absence of nuance, I think criticism itself is dead and dying. I'm not saying that the shit that the people we fuck with is doing, they're, to me, the last hope in a very real way. But I loved y'all's last duo conversation about Chloe and the way that the critic takes no care. It's just, here's what I thought about the album. It doesn't take account for all of the things that we just discussed, read Chloe and any of these artists. It's just, it might as well have been a Shade Room post or some sort of like blog Instagram post, and you're calling that review. And there's a
with
way.
two Christmas ribbons.
Criticism used to be an art. Like, I grew up reading like fashion and music magazines. Like, I mean, grew up in a beauty shop with my mama. So like, when you weren't reading the tabloids, you were also reading Vogue, or you were reading Rolling Stone, or you were reading Vibe, or you were reading Source. Like, I miss really good music journalism, and I think I don't consider myself like a fashion girly, but I do love fashion history, and I do love fashion criticism. I'll pick up a book by like an Andre Leon Talley in a minute and just read what he thought about this period in fashion. Like I said, I still read Vogue, and that's where criticism lies. And it's really sad that social media, popular media culture, the virality of it all, the need to have a hot take to get it off quickly, you're absolutely right. Nuance comes to die online. And in the same way that we are forced to go from, oh, I saw like Drake post this viral video of this girl from New York in her mood to like Ice Spice with Taylor Swift, like it's rapid fire in the same way. It's like the criticism doesn't know how to keep up with the moment, but the right critics know how to sit with it. And I think before I make comments about a lot of things, I like to wait for the discourse to build. I want to see what everybody else is saying about it, because part of my critique is what everybody else is saying about it. Matter of fact, that's where I start.
Come on.
Because I'm supposed to be making a new point. I'm supposed to be making an intervention.
And that's what it means to be a cultural critic. How are you critiquing culture if you haven't heard what the culture has to say?
Well, there's a difference between being a reviewer and a critic. There's a difference between film review, film analysis, and film criticism.
Journalist.
Right. You have to make that right. Exactly. Blogger. Like, come on, a blogger.
Well, you know what? I never thought about that, but that's exactly what I think about before I record a video or before I get into some things that I want. That's the only reason why I'm on Twitter.
You spend so much time with reviews, and I do the same thing. I spend an obscene amount of time with podcasts. Every time I watch a TV show, I'm listening to a review episode almost immediately. And then I process my own thoughts. I listen to them. I watch the episode again, and then if I'm asked to give commentary on it, then I take my notes. Then I sit with it. But discourse matters. Yeah,
because if it's something I agree, like there's been like even Succession, I've been like heavily going to listening to podcasts and reviews about the episode, what happened, what should have happened, and I'll have well, this was what I thought, but I'm very curious that then somebody comes to that same thought process that I did, and because we are consuming like art, and all of our listenings are different on it, but somewhere like connected at the same time. I'm really glad that we've had this conversation about Ice Spice and Colorism. I think this, honestly, out of all the conversations, even the ones I've had on my channel, I think this is the most thought-provoking one. Even the ones people who try to talk about it. And I appreciate people like you all who are not afraid to have a conversation about it. Period. Because
what are they going to do?
Fight? Like, I can fight. And, like, not even just talking about throwing hands. You don't want to argue with me online.
Well, I'm just glad that some of us haven't lost, being able to have a conversation because we're so interested in being famous or celebrity like standing us. I'm not, because the girls know. The girls know what it is.
I say the same thing like I say in movements, baby. Proximity ain't shit to me. You want to be in the mayor's room all the time. I made the girl that's the mayor cry when she was a council person. Like, we're not the same. Right. I don't give a shit about being close to Keisha Adams. Like, we've been in the same room together, and I'm like, when are we fighting? Like, and that's real. And I'm like, you have to approach shit like that, but also, do people have their voices? Do people have their thought? When you don't engage discourse adequately, like when I listen to my podcast, that's when I come up with my reading is different here. That right there. 6 of them have said this. This is why my reading's different. This is why it has to be different.
And this is how I got to it.
And this is how I landed.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Twitter has been in complete, utter fucking chaos.
I've been under a rock.
I have literally deactivated today. And what's so funny, I'm so connected to you. It is not even fucking funny because I was on Twitter. I was like, what the fuck? There was so much shit, and I haven't deactivated on Twitter since Elon has taken over.
Okay.
Like I was like, if I deactivate, bitch, I'm gonna be able to come back to this. They might say, bitch, she's out. We've been waiting for you to get the fuck off this motherfucker. But the space has been so dark around several things. One of them was about the conversation about the football player having a white partner. And it was just so much. And then we saw the conversation about Chika, which has taken a turn to the Atlanta universe because the kids that she was talking about, we will get into that, were T.I.'s grandchildren.
Yeah, Zanik's children.
So that, and there was one more fucking thing. I feel like it was like 3. Oh, I was getting ate up for me being fat phobic when I had the Bishop Eddie Long fade in response. Oh, the conversation about DC worst dress. I don't know if y'all saw it. When DC Pride, someone who is a stylist recorded people, fat femme folks without their consent, posted them on social media and talked about how bad dressed they were. And a lot of the people who were still following Someone who, girl, I want to. The girls who seem to care, quote unquote, care about all these still following this person who's very nasty, and I just did not want to be online. And when you tweeted and you was just going in, when you didn't go in, you just said, "I'm just fucking tired." That's how I felt, and I want us to discuss this Chika situation because I think it's real serious. So let's get into it.
Yeah. I just want to give the caveat that I, for the last week or so, have been very hyper focused on social media on Stop Cop City and also Secession and Barry ending. Those are two of my favorite shows. So that's where my head has been discourse wise, but I've also been offline because I've been here in Atlanta in the moment outside. I don't get outside, y'all. I've been having fun. I've been hanging out with my friends. So I've been missing a lot of this shit. And all I've been hearing it is like when we're hanging out and like y'all are talking about it. So I'm really excited for they trying to let this chopper slant.
What have you did you go to Parentown?
I did go to
How does that work with you being like a known figure? Like I'm pretty sure there's other folks who are interested in you. But how do they feel about you talking about fucking something else?
I mean,
have you ever thought about
nobody's
fucking your man?
Now,
Nobody
okay. This is where I feel about it. Nobody's my partner. If you
Ain't
wanna,
nobody owns you.
nobody's my partner. Nobody wants to go with me. If you want to go with me, we can have those conversations. Those are conversations that I would have with a partner about accountability. I'm a hoe. Like that's a part of who I am. I've always
The
been
whore
that.
charm school.
I'm a hoe, and I'm non-monogamous. I'm capable of monogamy. But again, those are conversations we have with a person who's serious.
Right.
Until somebody's serious about me, I'm going to tweet out that I drank green juice and got fucked last
I
night.
thought you were going to say drink something else.
I drank that too.
That too.
And so,
Y'all look
because I've been in Pound Town.
calm heavy.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I feel like honestly that we supposed to be serious.
We are.
But we're going to get to it. But doing this work, we have to laugh.
We have to.
laugh. If I'm giving head, if I'm throwing, I'm swallowing.
That's it.
I think anything else is childish. But
That's
I'm not a person that wants to play with it.
I also like my tits covered. But
Are you serious?
I'm also very into boobs. Like, I'm
Big boobs.
big boobs.
Big boobs.
I do like big breasts.
I like jugs. I like tits. Okay.
I do
want
too.
to see the nips.
Yeah, this is definitely getting uncut. But yes, as we leave Pound Town Boulevard and make a left on how anti-blackness shows up and our criticisms on things.
Yes.
So Chika, who is a fat, black, dark-skinned rapper, who I've enjoyed. Like her, she went viral years ago. She did a remix of something when got a lot of attention.
She did a lot of remixes.
Yeah, it was cute. I was like, sis has a flow. The bars are there. So yeah, for the last couple of years, Chika has, had a very interesting social media presence online on Twitter.
To say the least.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people have.
I mean,
A lot of people
we've
have.
seen a lot of spirals.
I've seen yeah.
We just lived through Kanye.
Yes.
That's true.
So recently, in Earth 2009,
We went across into down the traverse, the Spider-Verse. We'll have to talk a whole lot about that. Maybe.
Yes. So Chika tweeted that she was on a plane. She was in first class, and some person had, the nerve to have 2 kids. Did she name the kids were
She
black?
said they were twins. She did not say they were black.
Okay. Twins were on a red-eye flight, first class, at 1 o'clock in the morning. She was annoyed. They were crying. They were loud. She was complaining. Bad. She wrote a whole fucking thread. I think it was like 3 fucking separate tweets in paragraph. It was a lot.
It was like 5 separate tweets.
I really didn't even read
It was
all
a
of
lot.
it. Like, it was a lot. And she was pissed off. She said that she had to pay almost $30 for Wi-Fi on a Delta flight, which I was like,
$34.
No, it comes with free.
Specifically.
Like
that's why I was confused. She said she spent $27.
She said she spent $34, which was confusing as hell to me because I was like, girl.
I've been on Delta.
I've been on
And
3 Delta flights this year. And
I
every
don't
time
pay-
the
You don't
Wi-Fi
even
is free.
Wi-Fi.
need. You don't even like if you have a Delta account, they automatically
It's free.
give it to
Right.
you unless it's an international trip.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's neither here nor there. But we're not going to be
Speculation.
elitist.
Yes.
But She said she had paid some money to get on the internet to talk shit about these kids, and Twitter ate her the fuck up. Like it's been the conversation for the last 48 hours, and it has been so bad that I have had to deactivate. I have said it is too much. The thoughts that I've had, I know that Twitter is not a safe space for it, because right now they are very much interested in tearing this fat, dark-skinned woman to shreds. And the way I say it, because I'm not saying, because I know people going to run with, you think you're supposed to be about that? When someone think of the children. Y'all are not fucking serious.
Y'all don't think of the children.
Y'all don't give a fuck about no goddamn kids. I'm just going to put it, I was going to be trying to be cute with this. I honestly practically don't even give a fuck, because what she said was fucked up.
Yeah.
I've been on a flight a couple of times with kids. I've never felt the need to say that. I've been uncomfortable. I might text a friend, girl, I was on this goddamn flight. Oh, this motherfucking child crying. But she could put that on Twitter. She could have put that in the group chat. She could have just said, girl, these motherfucking kids loud as hell. The way Twitter ate her ass up, you would have thought that she opened the goddamn emergency thing and sucked everybody out into the fucking universe. It was so fucking mad, and I'm thinking, are the children alive? Like, what is going on? Like, it was bad. And it's been going on for 48 hours. I could not fucking breathe between that and all these folks caring about this desirable football player fucking a fat white man, and none of y'all are dating no fat black niggas. So if the light-skinned desired football player ain't fucking fat, undesirable niggas, y'all not fucking fat, undesirable niggas. What difference does it fucking make? Neither one of y'all are doing that shit. But I mean, it is what it is. You can tell how frustrated I am about it. Yeah. But it was just so fucking much that I just don't think it was necessary. And I know because when you tweeted, you was just like, the last couple of days have just been a lot. And we both enjoyed discourse and conversations on Twitter. Yeah. Twitter is kind of my safe space for a conversation with people like-minded. And we both felt the need, like, girl, this is too much.
It's too much.
It's a lot.
So I will just give one line and say that what Chika said was fucked up. That's all I'm giving to that. That's all I'm giving to, like,
the tweet itself.
The tweet itself, yeah, because I know that people want you to go really hard on Chika right now, and I just refuse to do so. What she said was fucked up. What I'm more concerned about is the vitriolic response that she's experienced since then, that has been leveraged at fat, dark-skinned black folks more largely by way of her. I think that in a world wherein your fatness and the hue of your skin can never be divorced from how you are engaged,
wake it up.
When and what you choose to offer to a conversation is also about desire. And so, if a fat, dark-skinned person, even if what they did is fucked up, is already being antagonized across the interwebs, your opinion on that does not matter. It just doesn't. And we have to really consider, and I'm saying we because it's true for me too, we have to really consider what it means to add to a dog pile.
Yes.
And how that dog pile is leveraged against that person and people like them. And who exactly is dogpiled and who is not. And so this whole thing for me has been really, really fucking frustrating, because you have people talking about how ugly she is. You have people talking about how stink she is, how much of a stench she has, right? You have people calling her all types of linebackers and gorillas, all of these really nasty, very clear anti-black choices, right, to describe who she is, how she shows up in the world, and to talk about her body.
Yeah. And
the biggest thing that I really feel focused on, and I texted this to Justin earlier, like is the critique of her smell, right? That comes from the aunt or the mom of one of the girls, because what we learned is that they were not twins. There was Zanique's daughter and then Zanique's niece, her sister's daughter, that were on the plane. The mother of the other daughter of Zanique's niece said that, or no, it was Zanique herself, I think, said that Chika was musty. Obviously, I don't know what Chika smells like. I have no idea what this girl smells like. Never met her a day in my life. I don't care about how she smells. But what I do know is that more often, or what's probably true, is that Chika did not smell, or at least didn't smell bad, or smelled regular, right? But that this person was trying to dig at Chika in any way that she could and use that as another dig, which is very common for people to do with fat, dark-skinned people, right? But we don't consider, or rather the colorist logics get thrown out the door, or critiques rather of the colorist logic get thrown out the window when they're leveraged at fat people in particular. And so what happened was thin and or light-skinned people took this critique of Chika's smell at face value and ran with it. Now the conversation is about how stink she is, how disgusting she smells, how grotesque she is, and not about the violent language that she used to talk about these children. And the mom, right? She used language like wench and bastard, right? Like she used some very particularly violent anti-black language to describe these black girls and this black mother. And instead of the focus being on that, it has gone to how ugly she is, how stink she is, how fat she is, how undesirable she is. It is a very common thing to do for people to talk about how stink or how dirty or how nasty, how unkempt fat, dark-skinned people are, irrespective of how well kept they are, how nice they smell, right? It doesn't matter, because what is most true is that people often associate dirtiness and grotesqueness with fatness. That is quite literally how we get anti-fatness as a coherent ideology.
Eat it up. That's
through the transatlantic slave trade. When white Europeans and white Americans witness fatness on African bodies, they say this is grotesque, this is unrighteous, this is dirty, and therefore there must be a structure put in place that separates us from them. The making of the slave is the making of anti-fatness. So this language that we use is not apolitical. It's not dismissed from, or rather it cannot be divorced from anti-fatness as a structure. And so when I witness how people talk about Chika in this moment and how far away we've gotten from the violent, ugly words that she used to talk about these children and this black mom, to focus instead on these very particularly anti-black tropes and language steeped in white supremacy that were used and have been used to make and maintain the slave as a status. All that's clarified for me is that we are committed only to the maintenance of anti-fatness as anti-blackness, and we are not committed to defending black folks, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Zanique's baby's father hopped online and asked Chika what state she was in. If Chika was not a fat, dark-skinned black woman, a cis man threatening a woman online would not have been joked about, nor would it have been accepted. But the quotes on that tweet were all about, oh, this is messy. Oh, you brought this on yourself. This is what you deserve, blah, 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 blah. Right? This is no longer about what she said. It's about desire and desirability. It's about who is and is not ugly, and therefore who deserves and does not deserve to be not only protected, but also held to account. Because it's not about accountability, it's about who burns at the stake. Chika is, for all intents and purposes, she is the witch that deserves to burn.
Yeah.
She does not deserve any type of accountability, even if the accountability is that she got to get her ass beat, right? Let's be very clear. I'm not against street justice. So it's not the fact that she's being threatened at all. It's the fact that she's being threatened by a cis man who is from fucking Baltimore, who's posted up with fucking guns in every fucking picture, who's clear that, like, this is not about whether or not my baby mama gonna fight you. This is about how I want to handle you, right? This is about putting bodies in the ground. And that's accepted because Chika is masculinized in a very particular way. Because she is dark-skinned and fat, right? The very same people under that tweet are calling her all types of, again, linebackers, gorillas. Language that Darren Wilson used to justify his murder of Mike Brown. Language that officers used to justify the murder of Eric Garner, right? Language that officers and media used to justify the murder of Breonna Taylor. But all of this is acceptable and can't be critiqued because the moment you offer these critiques, now you're defending Chika. We do not take seriously the extent to which anti-fatness deeply affects how we critique, what we critique, how we show up in conversation, and what conversations we choose to and not to have. And I have been particularly angry about, frustrated with, just upset about how we have chosen to go about this conversation and how quickly so many people have been willing to dismiss any conversation of anti-fatness or of colorism because of how much they don't like Chika. I should be clear, I don't fucking like Chika. We got into it years ago online when I was trying to big up her and Lizzo and other dark-skinned or black fat rappers who have done incredible work, who were at the time producing incredible music. And I named that these are some incredible fat black women rappers that you should be paying attention to. She got upset, went on a whole rampage about how much she shouldn't be called fat and all the things, right? A whole conversation came from that around how many people just were not willing to hold fatness as an oppressed group of people, and therefore naming fatness as something that could be reclaimed in the very same ways that black folks reclaim the word nigga. To this day, I have not been apologized to, both from her or the people who defended her, many of whom are also leveraging critiques and attacks against her now.
Wow.
And she has also gone on to refer to herself as fat and has in many ways used her platform to talk about body positivity. Her campaign with Calvin Klein, for example. So I don't fuck with her either. I have no allegiance to her. I do, however, have an allegiance to critiquing anti-fatness and / as anti-blackness and the ways that we choose to go about these conversations and who we choose to attack versus critique. Because critiques are not attack, but what's happening against her right now is that she is not being critiqued, she is being attacked. And not only is she being attacked, but the rest of us who are also fat and dark skinned are also being attacked, and no one gives a fuck because all we care about online, which is why I said that Twitter is the place where nuance goes to die, it's lynching.
Period.
What is happening to Chika is a public lynching, which is as true to America as fucking hot dogs and baseball. And the moment in which we choose to be clear about that fact, we can actually have more honest conversations. But we don't want to be clear about that fact. So she can be lynched, she can be burned at the stake because we don't care about accountability, we don't care about retribution, we don't care about restoration, we don't give a fuck about any of that. We care about how many of us can dogpile, can attack, can lynch this fat, black, dark-skinned woman.
Do you feel as though the reason why so many, even people that we trust, well, not, I wouldn't say trust, who sometimes are very performative when it comes to conversations like this, or so easily able to drag her and get on her like they've been waiting to get on her. They've been waiting. And it's easy for them to do that because all of the way they perform online of how, desirability, anti-fatness, and colorism and all that has been a performance from the very beginning.
Oh, of course.
So it's easy for them to let all of that go because I can't see me understanding all I understand and then dogpiling on her.
Right.
That's not been my thing.
Right.
I've not been.
Particularly because we know what it means to be on the opposite end of that.
Yes. Literally responded to a conversation. There was this YouTuber by the name of Messy Miles who did the video is still up of him dragging me, and it literally is Justin J is musty. Did this video and everybody ran with it that I was musty. I met him during 2015 Atlanta Pride, and he said that I was musty or funky, and I was like, I don't remember being funky, like especially I'm out in public. And what's hilarious about this is I was smaller at that time. And the video got so much attention that people believed it and ran with it.
Of course.
Ran with it. And I was very upset, and I did a live stream dragging him and being, fat phobic in response to him. But this video is now circulating online right now in response to me critiquing the DC Worst dress video. And people are now saying, oh, well, you are fat phobic and all these things. And y'all don't care about any of this shit. Y'all don't care about any of that. And to pull up a video that I did 7 years, I get it. It's definitely harmful to folks who are watching and consuming my content and see that. And I don't mind having a conversation with the people who are watching and enjoying my content. Know I've referenced that video and my own internalized anti-fatness and anti-blackness in almost every video that I do.
Yeah, because it's that connected to every single thing.
And like you just said, no one is interested in restorative none of that. It's just burn you the fuck down. And that's all I'm seeing with the Chika thing. I'm not actually seeing any conversations that are moving and talking about the children and how also, because me and you talked about how we talk about other children.
Yeah.
How we talk about other kids.
Yeah. So and this is what made me hop offline. In the same week, and it could have been in the same day, there was an incident where a child, a young person, was shot by an adult for breaking into cars in DC. In a very Hillary Clinton circa mid-90s pivot, niggas online, black people online, did not see a black child. They saw a super predator. And I was astounded at the quote tweet of that series. One of the most viral ones says something along the lines of, I don't know, I'll beat the fuck out of an 11-year-old in DC because those kids, basically them kids are different. Again, some super predator shit. And so when we're talking about who's worthy of critique versus who's worthy of complete obliteration relative to anti-blackness, anti-fatness, the work, Jatella's work, Jordan Moki's work on the black child and the fact that what we think of as a black child is it doesn't come online as a child. Because when we're talking about anti-black violence, the suspension of rules, the rules of critique, the rules of war, there's no Geneva Convention that protects niggas. There's no protected class within us. You can construct the black woman, the black child, the black fat, however you want, but it goes out the window. It's suspended completely when we have to hold conversations like this, especially around intercommunal anti-black violence. And so I'm from Atlanta. I have been here doing a lot of work with what the field calls opportunity youth, but youth who between the ages of say 16 and 25, so that in a high school, the age when youth are dropping out of school or supposed to go to college, right? We built intentional job skills training programs for those youth who were formerly incarcerated or systems impacted and were in Atlanta just kind of off to their own devices. And this is treated as anti-recidivism and all of these things. And I'm also critical of this work because it is still a softer form of policing. Are you on probation? Are you in jail? No, but you come to this job every day. You have to be here for 8 hours. We have to monitor you. All of your resources to support your work come through us. And if you get kicked out of the program, you're back on the streets and vulnerable, right? And so when we need a figure to go save, we love a black child. The starving children in Africa, you know, these sort of tropes, right? And I'm just like, for us to have the same, Chika should have never said those things about children. And then out of the same breath, justify the shooting of an 11-year-old for survival tactics. Because if an 11-year-old is breaking into a car in Washington, D.C., you know, interchangeably, arguably, the number one gentrified city in the country, and when gentrification is measured specifically for ethnic cleansing, which is the complete removal of black people, D.C. and Atlanta box the way the AUC boxes Howard, right? And so I think that is an important contextualization to connect the two cities, because I was out in 2020 during the uprisings when that was black youth in the streets fucking up Atlanta in the name of George Floyd and then Rayshard Brooks, who was their neighbor, right? When the response to the 2020 uprising is eventually a cop city, but the lead up to cop city is we're going to impose a random curfew during an active uprising and shut down MARTA trains. Who's stranded? Black youth. And they're being rounded up into paddy wagons. And who's paying attention to them? Nobody thought about them. In the next few days, Keisha Lance Bottoms put out a city ordinance banning the local water boys. So there are children in the hood of Atlanta who sell water and snacks to drivers getting onto highway exits. There are so many black people in Atlanta who fear these children and don't know how to handle somebody like me who says, those are my kids. Because I've sat in rooms with other educators, be they in the university, in the public school system, or doing the work that I do in job skills training programs, where we talk about some of our biggest challenges that we face. And I was like, my first cohort running a program, one of the students is serving life for murdering another student in his class on some just regular bullshit. You know, drove across county lines just to murder him. And how do you hold that, but also hold that they deserve to be held, right? When you talk about who's worthy of critique versus who's worthy, you go straight to electric chair. Like, there's nothing protecting that 11-year-old in D.C. because you've already viewed this child as a lost cause because it's a black child doing urban youth ghetto activity, right? Yeah. And then by the same token, you have conversations talking about in gentrified communities, for example, right? Black youth don't have public spaces to use. But by the same token, what constitutes a space for kids? Something to keep kids safe. You can't keep black kids safe. That is, in this, like, Deshaun, your points are brilliant around anti-blackness and anti-fatness working in that way. When people ask you, what do you mean by beast in the title of your book? There's a beastliness to blackness that works through anti-fatness that also works through any construction of subjectivity of a black thing that you can think of. And that's the way the libidinal economy works. Nobody wants to live in the condition of a nigger. Nobody wants to look like a nigger. What is that? Anything negative or non-value. Like, what's not clicking? But what is of value is the currency of lighting a nigga up and burning him at the stake. And it does not matter if it's a woman, if it's a child, if it's a disabled person or whatever. We have to invent language that tries to get at a way to love and care and to hold these figures when, again, anytime you deviate from the straight and narrow, be a good Negro line, you are subject to that 11-year-old child deserved it. He broke into that car. Yeah. And that is something I think that is missing from this cop city discourse that pisses me off, because those are the insurgent terrorists that are marked as terrorists before there's a motherfucker in a forest.
Period.
It's not about the trees. I said all that to say that I'm deeply passionate about black youth, both materially in life in general, but also when I'm staging my critique. I think as an urban theorist, right, that's my project. When I think about urban youth, that figures heavily into my work, be it on the track, on the city, because whenever there is a need, what we're talking about is we need a figure in a time of frenzy, in a time of chaos. And when I'm talking about black youth, say in a time of uprising in a city that literally wakes up and chooses violence against them, like you'd rather put out an ordinance that says your poorest of the poor, most vulnerable children in your community who are clearly trying to make an entrepreneurial lane for themselves. I mean, we're like, you don't want kids trapping. You don't, when all this policy that's anti-gang policy, that is targeted at black youth. And so on the one hand, we have movements like Stop Cop City, and people want to have an abolition conversation, especially in the post-2020 moment. But by the same token, we are living in a moment where fascism is trickling down, where these states are responding to the 2020 moment by expanding their police state in very sinister ways. But there's a underlying libidinal, like psychic fear of frenzy, like unconsciously, that always needs to be let out. And so when you pose a black child as a super predator figure, like you open up a lane for violence to be expanded for everybody else. In the same way that Deshaun, you were talking about, the Chika dogpile made it okay to dogpile and implicate every other fat person on the internet at the same time. Like, black youth don't have an opportunity to ever move out of the urban youth trope, the you're a terrorist, you're a super predator, no matter what we assign to them, because things like black excellence just doesn't affix. And if it does, it boxes black kids into, if you're not this type of kid, there's no hope for you. My youth aren't put on the same trajectories to be HBCU bound. But those are the same kids who have invented a goddamn business model, a foolproof business model, to help them sustain themselves during the summer. And you talk about, let's imagine alternatives to the terror that's coming up right now. Black youth face that terror every single day. And they get up and they get the damn raggedy lawnmower and they go house to house. And I don't care if I ain't got grass in the front yard. Here you go. And I'm going to pay the kids double. Because that's how you take care of youth. But they're not worthy of care unless they are disciplined into a very particular type of good Negro-ness that they're supposed to carry throughout their lives. And especially if it is a poor child, a fat child, a disabled child, a neglected child, we don't know how to hold them. And in a larger society where we watched 2020 happen, 2021 we just sent the kids back in the middle of a damn Delta variant, and our kids have suffered. I think about that a lot too. We're dealing with post-COVID youth, right? In a very particular way. And so I said all that to say, like, we know the stakes of dealing with black young people, black youth, especially in our cities. And for anybody, especially a black person, to jump to justifying the murder of a child or the harm of a child, right? Especially when that child is caught simply surviving, we can't dogpile on Chika or anybody else who makes fucked up comments about kids when you don't actually care about kids. You care about what kids stand in for, which is a stand in for futurity. And there's a particular type of futurity or a future that is assigned to a black excellence or a black survival that those kids don't fit into. And so I have a major problem when we are so quick, and this isn't about judgment. This is quite literally, you don't see a child, you see a terror threat. And so again, when I live in a city that I know it's always been war on young people, a city where even Dr. King and them, if you choose the quote unquote John Lewis good trouble route, that was a youth movement. John Lewis was a college student. He was 20 years old, 18 years old in the streets, getting his ass beat on the Independence Bridge. So we're okay giving our youth over to be martyrs for movement. We're okay giving our youth up to be frontline, during a fucking COVID pandemic. We're okay with our youth being locked up, being targeted under gang charges, and agreeing with the state. Maybe they should go to juvie. Maybe they should go to jail. Maybe they should get thrown into the military or some other violent institution because we need to discipline black children that bad. Yeah. And so it really grinds my gears when I see something like an 11-year-old child deserves to get their ass beat when a young child has just been shot for attempting to survive.
Yeah. It's been so many instances of seeing. I know it happened in Memphis a couple years ago, where a child was in the store and he was believed to was stealing or was about to steal or something, and their life was gone.
That was justification for murdering Mike Brown.
Yes.
He had been trying to steal something from the store. He had allegedly stolen something from a damn convenience store.
Yeah. So I don't see how people don't see the connection between that. Like you're saying this about the car can be replaced. The car is not, a human being is nothing but the fact they're stealing that, they don't deserve to live. Hello? Are y'all okay?
No.
And then the same instance say, oh, we care about these two kids on this plane whose parents are clearly rich.
Light-skinned, wealthy, first class, your grandpa. And then this is the other part about it. Now, to protect this child, we know what the fuck T.I. is capable of saying and doing. And so if the internet is already doing Chika that way, just wait until he makes a public statement, and you know how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Because T.I. is a disgusting person, and so is Tiny.
Yeah.
And I saw jokes like that, ooh, just wait until Tiny see. So now you're licensing even more people to dogpile on this situation. And so again, we call, to echo, the work of Afro-pessimists like David Marriott and Calvin Warren, like when we need a black subject called into being right now to make the case, we need a terror figure, we need a subject to hold that, we need a caring figure to avenge right now. And so when you talk about who's capable of critique or worthy of critique, who goes straight to death, like who's worthy of care, who's worthy of defense and protection, we've killed Chika, we've killed 11-year-old in DC, but these very rich, light-skinned kids whose grandparents are T.I. and Tiny, we protect them. Like, there's something fucked up about who gets to be considered a child when you need a super predator or when you need something to defend. I think there's a deeper conversation to be had about that.
I definitely agree. And I hope people are paying attention and not trying to make the argument that we are defending Chika. We are defending her. And I know I am, but I'm also not agreeing to the shit that she said. I think the shit she said was extremely fucked up. But I also don't think it's necessary to dogpile on her to the point that we have people that y'all are mutuals with, people who y'all are, follow, who are making nasty comments about her, who y'all not choosing to unfollow, who y'all choosing to, like, yes, you all will give a performance and say, oh, that's not right. Don't say that we can talk about Chika. We can talk about Chika without being fatphobic and thinking that you're doing the work. That's what they think that's like some revolutionary shit. We can critique her without, girl, you're not.
You can't. No, let's start there.
Well,
the way anti-blackness works, the thought that comes into your mind is already anti-black. And if we follow Deshaun, anti-blackness is anti-fatness, anti-fatness is anti-blackness. The way that they go hand in hand in the structure of desire determines our judgment before we even know it's judgment. Like, our language is already limited into the boundary of this has to be anti-fat. Yeah. So there's no way that you can critique Chika without being anti-fat.
Yeah, because even if they don't explicitly say it, they are upset at how you dark-skinned, fat, black bitch, that's how y'all feel, dare say something about some fucking kids.
Yeah, that's why I say that. That's why I said that your fatness and the hue of your skin cannot be divorced from how you are engaged, whether you're right, wrong, or both, right? Like, there is, if you have even the smallest psychoanalysis, right? If you understand the psyche, right? We are clear that how people are engaged always already happens on a subconscious level, right? Yes. It happens unconsciously. So the moment in which we see somebody who is fat, dark-skinned, a woman, right, that already plays a significant role in how we choose to engage them, irrespective of how soft we think that we are when we engage them. This is why we know that there is no way of not being misogynistic if you are a man, right? This is how we know that there is no way of not being anti-black if you're a white person, right? But also
Everybody,
right? Like,
everybody's implicated.
There's no way to not be implicated in that because of the way that anti-blackness works, because of the way that the world is constructed, because of the libidinal economy. So Chika is engaged as she is because of who she is and what she looks like. There's no way for that to not be true. Mm-hmm. There is only a way for that to be softened.
Yeah. And people try their best. Their first response is, "Well, I'm not talking about her being. I'm not doing any of that. But we have to talk about it, do we? Do we have to talk about it? Because the kids are right.
Are they?
The kids, the two kids who were on the plane, they're okay.
They're beyond okay. They were protected by first class itself. Like, please, like,
yeah.
Give me a break. And I think, honestly, like, when I found out who the children belong to, that's really when I was like, I'm not even gonna rabbit hole this because I can't fucking stand T.I.
Yeah.
Like, and Tiny. I think they are menacing in very sinister and particular ways. Mm-hmm. And you know, a few years ago in 2020, 2021, when that was hot Clubhouse fodder, their, you know, sexual violence allegations that just keep recurring. Like, it's so funny that gets thrown out the window when we need a pop culture moment. And so the fact that niggas, like I said, are already like, wait until Tiny see, wait until T.I. see. Like, you know how violent he is. And you're already ready to platform him to go even harder, and you know the power that he has is sickening. Like, you're talking about, even with the way that I don't like him, you're still talking about a rap industry titan. Mm-hmm. He is the king of the South. Like, that is who he is. Mm-hmm. Don't shit move in this city without T.I.'s approval musically or cosign, whether you know it or not, whether it's out loud or not. And so you're talking about a person at these intersections who already has a shiesty history. Her means of survival is still the music industry. That's still her talent. And like, when we talk about blackballing and excommunicating and doxing, deplatforming people, this is why my abolitionism is the end of everything. I don't want a transformation because that implies that I need a rehabable subject, and a black one is not that. I don't like restoration because there's no restoration for blackness. There's no redemption for that. What we invent is a whole new form of policing and disciplining that we co-sign with clean terms and shiny terms and terms that we should aspire to, you know. And I think when you talk about psychic anxiety, if the unconscious psychic anxiety is always responsive to what's a threat, what's to be embraced, what's to be loved, what's to be feared, like, I don't think that there's a way that we can talk about restoration or transformation without first admitting to our own anti-black unconscious, which is always already fear and the terror of blackness, that our investment in restorative justice and transformative justice is also an investment in a new form of policing that we can get behind, agree with, and deputize ourselves to maintain the order on whatever the other side is. Because if you think we're gonna tear, let's think about it hypothetically. If we tear down this structure right now and are able to build our imaginary abolitionist wet dream on the other side, somebody has to ensure that order holds. To have a revolution, you win, you're always in defense of the revolution, right? And so if that comes with a new set of rules and order, and anti-blackness, anti-fatness, and desirability, and the unconscious works the way that it does, it's only a matter of time before that goes the same way too, because it's never not going to be a witch hunt. And the lynching is always going to be reinvented. If there's a world, there's a reproduction of the plantation, anti-black anxiety, anti-black violence, and therefore the need for use of force beyond the order itself, the suspension of rules of war, and the fact that anything goes when we're talking about something black. And that has to be taken seriously.
I think that's why I'm ready for a meteor any day now.
Any day.
Any day.
Like, literally, drop the nuclear bomb.
I'm ready.
Just drop the nuclear bomb.
Speaking of nuclear bombs.
The president failed.
Well, I think that I would like for us to I don't know if you want to talk about the whole situation with the football player. Do you have enough energy for that? If you don't, we don't have to. We don't have to.
I don't even know the story about that one.
Yeah, so there was this football player. I guess he plays at Howard. He's a black.
Okay, so college
graduated from
okay.
Howard, and he posted a picture for Pride, and it was him and this white man, and I'm guessing that's his boyfriend or whatever. That's what the girls are alluding to, which started this whole conversation for the last 24 hours about black men choosing white men, and a lot of black celebrities, black gay celebrities, are always in relationships with white men or white folks or whatever. They are this week, and I get it because I'm one of those folks that I'm making the dots like, hey, I've been saying that for a minute. Like every time there is a black celebrity, they are always usually in a relationship with a white person, and I think my reasoning for I think that happens is because to be in these spaces, you have to be connected to whiteness. That's just how it is. You can't come in these spaces being a nigger. You can't. So you have a white boyfriend that softens you up, and that's even when I worked on a project for YouTube Originals, it was very hard trying to find a black person to be a part of the conversation. A black celebrity can talk about HIV who did not have a non-black partner. It was very hard. It was going through the list of all the black gay celebrities, and all of them had non-black partners.
That's crazy.
And I was just like, God damn. It's no shade. I love Billy Porter sometimes. I didn't want Billy Porter a part of my conversation because I'm not sure how he looks at blackness. And not because he has a white boyfriend, because of the things that he said. And he also has a white boyfriend. So the girls have been talking about that. They've been having a conversation. And I just want them to shut the fuck up because they're not really serious.
No.
I think that I am tired of being used as a talking point. I'm tired of my fatness being brought up for conversation. I guess I feel like Flo Millie. Well, full circle. I am tired of the conversations about black gay men. Because I feel like the only time we're having conversation about this is when the black gay man who is a celebrity is desirable. That is the only time that people seem to be concerned.
Because it has to feel like a loss.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it's
as somebody raised as a very desirable black woman in the South, especially in Atlanta, especially at the height of Atlanta's the black gay capital, and you go to Atlanta, you're gonna come back gay. Like that was the literal cultural talking point growing up. There's this fierce homophobic sentiment amongst cishet black women that begins to be disciplined into you as a young child, that you hate the gay man because he's after your man. The closet sentiment was big. I mean, this is peak Oprah, right? Mm-hmm. This Oprah is having conversations with marquee niggas out of the closet on Wednesday afternoon fodder, and my family, my grandmama didn't miss an episode of Oprah in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Nobody in my mama's salon missed an episode of that in the afternoon. And so when we talk about the desirability of it all, even within the cis-het paradigm, as a quote-unquote black woman, I'm supposed to equally fear, the gay for taking my man, my black men, my strong black men. Atlanta is this concentration of good brothers that you should be with, that are providers, that are rich, that are well done. Like the most desirable, successful black Mecca Negro lives here. But you gotta catch him while you can, because he either gonna go to the gays or the non-blacks. And I use non-blacks because, again, the multicultural paradigm, not only do I get looked over by white women and allegedly, gay men, but also the foreign girls, right? They ain't nothing exotic about me, none of that shit. So you're raised with these very real blinders, and the black man becomes something to be lost. And I think that's very important when we talk about these conversations. When people get mad about it, is because we need a subject worthy of losing them, and it's a detriment to the community and the project of a black future.
So you had tweeted, because we were both seeing the conversations and stuff, and we've been seeing the conversation for a minute. So it wasn't this particular conversation, but it was just all of the conversation. You had tweeted that you said something about a glass house. And what do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? Come on, other fat black. You love Drewski.
You know,
Chloe's baby daddy. I'm joking.
he's fine.
He is.
And he's funny.
And that's another one.
Yeah.
We can't think he fine.
I wanted his booty hole around.
Okay, so what I meant by that is, what I tweeted was that the analyses are not sharp, and that the stones are being tossed from a glass house. And what I meant by that is that the analyses are not sharp, and they're not very good. They're not tight, and that people are antagonizing folks who, like T said, I think brilliantly, folks who feel like they have lost for dating people who they feel are inferior to them, but are also very clear that what makes them inferior, right, their fatness, also makes black fat folks inferior to them. And so it's not about whether or not it's not necessarily about the fact that this black person chooses to date a white person, right, to do this interracial dating. It's about the fact that this black person who you desire, who you feel like you have lost in a possibility that, was never really a possibility in the first place, of being with them to somebody who is inferior, right? But that's because we don't have a deep enough understanding to be clear about the fact that all forms of dating in and of itself is race play, right? To use the work of Jatella, right? Like, it's very important to be clear about the fact that the way that love, romance, desire is constructed is that it is supposed to always place you in proximity to whiteness, right? Or, more clearly, it is supposed to bring you away from blackness.
Yes.
And because of that, we say we want black partners, but our black partners have to be not fat, right? Or our black partners have to be light skinned, or our black partners have to be masculine, or our black partners have to be cis, or our black partners have to be able-bodied, right? They have to have something that connects them to, or that pushes them away from blackness or subjectivity, right? Something that says that you may be black, but you are not beastly.
Wake it up.
And so because of that, it's like I'm watching a bunch of people who, many of whom I know in real life, who I know are not interested in black trans folks, who I know are not interested in black fat folks, who I know are not interested in black dark-skinned folks unless they present a certain way.
Well.
And so, for me, the conversations become very trivial because they get, going back to the Flo Millie conversation, they become individualized and they don't broaden our analysis around race and around how we construct romance, dating, love in the first place, desire in the first place. And I think that it's just a very frustrating thing to witness because people are either shitting on fat folks or using fat folks as political talking points for social media clout, but none of that translates to how they actually engage fat folks in real life.
Yeah. And
it becomes particularly violent because then we have to be the ones who are witnessing the endless conversations that are happening about our bodies that don't actually benefit us in any real way. they just benefit the people having those conversations because they get to say, I am the person who has this conversation and therefore I'm smart, right? Then it becomes masturbatory. It becomes a circle jerk of who gets to defend the fatties first, but only online.
Well,
Only on Clubhouse, only in Twitter Spaces, only in Twitter Threads, only in Instagram graphic posts.
not on Tinder, not on Jacked, not on Grindr.
Well,
Wake it up.
Look at the material.
look at the material. You can be the
Be
judge
the
of it.
judge of it.
And
But not
and I have been the judge
But
of
not
it.
just in those senses, but
Right.
also when we go to Pride, right? And
Whew.
you know, we've dropped.
Come back to the DC Worst
Yes,
First
because
video.
we've dropped Jatella a bit in that last piece that they published for Scalawag about the eroticization of love itself. I know that flies over a lot of people's head because it's, you know, and I will designate some things as academic. That is an
It is
academic
academic.
piece.
It is.
And that is a challenging piece. And as an academic, I have to wrestle with it, right? And that's my friend and a field that I contribute to. It should be challenging you like that. But what he's getting at with the eroticization of love itself, I reached a place, especially when I was transitioning into my non-binary, agender sort of space. There's this pull that you have, especially in movements, where there needs to be a demand. When you talk about the eroticization of love itself, you have to make Black love desirable for us to even try to pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's hashtag Black love, or love a queer person, love a Black queer person, love a Black trans person, love a Black woman. And I'm like, what does it mean for you to just be a nigga here with me, nigga here being gender and sexuality expansive, here trying to quote unquote be with me, but it has to be a part of this political project. You can't just fuck with me because it's me. It's because I love Black women. I'm making a political statement for not being with these others. I love Black queer trans folks. So I'm blah, blah, blah. Like, it just plays into every mode and avenue of thinking through these things. And so whether you're on the apps or you're out at a Pride event itself, you know you're subject more to the terror of, oh, look how raggedy she showed up, and less like, I want to dance with that person. I want to be close to that person. I want that person to let me borrow some water, or like if they got a lighter. Like that person is automatically excommunicated from the commune before we assemble for the event. And I actually think we should start there when we talk about a Black community and a Black family and Black love itself.
What I was going to say, or offer rather, is that
That you're fucking fat, dark skinned people.
well, yes. Well, yes. But
Please.
But more, what I was going to say was like, you know, when we start having these conversations about how all dating is interracial dating or how all dating is race play or whatever, right? People push back on that because it's like, how can that be true if, like teacher's name, if I'm invested in hashtag Black love, right? But one, I wrote about this in an anthology titled Black Love Matters. My piece was a critique of Black love itself, where one, Black love is positioned as something that folks who are positioned on the margins of Blackness are kept out of, right? That, you know, Black folks become likened to your Shreks or the Beast and Beauty and the Beast, right? We become things that are incapable of being loved unless we are capable of being transformed. So that's one. But what's also true is if race play is not a universal thing, then why is it that your Black partner has to have a big dick?
Well,
Or fat ass.
Right? Why is it that if race play is not a universal thing, then why is it that sex is phallocentric? That the phallus is centered in how we perform sex, and the only way we understand sex is by way of who can penetrate.
Getting dick down.
This is how race is constructed. This is how Blackness is constructed. This is how the slave is constructed.
I mean, Fanon literally says the nigger stands in as a penis figure.
Literally.
Like, and by penis figure, biological threat. Meaning Blackness as contaminant is literally a threat to progeny itself.
Right.
So now we have to make loving Negroes a project in and of itself, because we have to imagine a Black future, and there's only certain Blacks that can be allowed in the very fantasy itself.
Exactly.
well, I like sides, so do I. I like a little potato salad, macaroni and cheese.
Me too.
They not penetrate. But some people think that, oral, some people say, well, technical folks who work in sexual health say that if a penis is in your mouth or something, it's still considered penetration.
Yeah.
Well, I think so too. I think
so.
anytime the penis goes inside of something, it is penetrating something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Well, I'm oral only.
Well, I do it all, but I'm just clear about the fact that
You do it all?
Yes. Well, yes.
Well, kind of, sort of. Girl, you.
By I do
So
it all.
you buy me?
By I do it all, I mean that I insert my penis into
All
all
right.
different types of holes. But as far as what's being inserted into me, I am not phallocentric. So
Did you just pull your fucking shirt up, bitch? This bitch pull her suit up.
you know,
Pop the collar.
well, kind of, sort of.
Hold the board on them, Greg.
Well, I have really enjoyed this conversation. Y'all have took me to different worlds. T, I'm gonna go back and write down all the shit that you said because I didn't understand none of that shit. But I love that because
My bad.
No, you're
I'm
good.
trying to be accessible.
no, well, we also have to be willing to do the work because you just name stuff, and every time you speak on stuff, you make sure, hey, this is the person where I got this from. This is the book. So it's on point.
And if they need help, some of the things that I
Yeah.
named were what T named in different words.
Yes.
Yeah,
And you
period.
can read it through Deshaun's languages. You can read it through Jatella's language. You can read it through my language. But we're saying the same.
We get to the same points.
Yeah, and you can look up these authors. That's when you were saying names and things.
Yeah.
I'm typing these people in and getting books and adding them to the gallery. Yes, because we love books.
We do.
So I appreciate you all for joining us on another sickening episode of In the Middle, girl.
It's been so
We haven't did
long.
one in
It's
a
been
decade.
so long
Girl,
since we did
it's
one
been a new-
together in person. We haven't
Yeah.
done this together in person since pre-pandemic.
We haven't done this since Nicki Minaj was the queen of rap.
Since Queen Radio, honestly.
And on that note,
And who remembers that?
well, kind of, sort of.
Well, journalism. So thank you so much. Y'all ain't working on anything. Give us some updates. We ain't talked to us and then when you're trying to end the goddamn episode.
Oh my
I know you want a
gosh.
piece of the burger.
And
T,
do.
I'm literally like,
We'll end
dead.
it, but I definitely
No,
do
we can do updates.
like an update
Yeah.
because T has been doing some very,
Yeah.
very beautiful things over the last year, 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. Let's just go with the last 6 months. It's June now. January, I joined the staff at Scallowag. So
Yeah.
again, Deshaun is my coworker, but I'm now a editor at Scallowag magazine, and you guys may have seen. I've actually been writing things. As I've alluded to, I've had a very, very rough last 3 years, especially 2 years since I've been in Minnesota. And without going into way too many details, I've just, between the grief, the loss, broken relationships, breakup, like platonic and romantic breakups, being away from home, all of these things, I had to run away from Atlanta to shut down and protect myself and to heal from the trauma that started here. And I got new trauma since then, but like, I've done some very intentional self-work and self-healing. I've been looking through the work of, she's white, but she's a holistic psychologist who teaches folks who want to learn how to do the work, who want to learn psychoanalysis, who want to learn about trauma and attachment and all of these things. She gives a method on how to kind of do it yourself. And as somebody who's been to rehab before, who kind of knows the steps but has never really applied them because they didn't feel applicable, I've really been doing that. So I've been low-key, I've been less online, I've been focused on my job and my work. Transitioning out of Minnesota is not definitive where I land. Everything's very TBD, and I'm feeling very nomadic. I like popping into the city for a week or so, being with the people that I love the most, and then popping off somewhere else. So
Yes.
we don't know where I'm gonna land next or where I'm gonna pop up next, but I'm in a lot of spaces right now, a lot of good spaces, and overall a great place.
Period. And T will let you know to turn on the air.
It gets hot. Like, you expect me to go to bed?
Oh no! Don't drag me. No. But what's funny is I was concerned because I know people complain about me having the cold as fuck because my thermostat knows after 10 o'clock 66 degrees.
That's how I sleep. I sleep
Period.
on 65.
But some people, I've had a friend who stayed with me
Ask
and
me
she
first.
would be freezing. So I'm like, let me be considerate, especially you take a shower. So, but she was like, hey, you know.
Hey,
Get
you
that.
gonna turn that hair
And I
off?
said, oh, period. That's
upstairs. Heat rises.
she was.
And, yeah.
But
Amen.
it ran to like from 12 to 8. Ain't no air upstairs because I'm on a fixed income.
I know that's right. So I come
Well,
upstairs with the
kind of,
face.
sort of.
Sorta.
But bitch, we in the middle of Joe Biden's inflation. I am trying to survive. Because them girls is not fucking with the Pride girlies this year.
No, they ain't called us for nothing.
Bitch,
Oh, that shit is wild. Like,
Yes.
we were booked and busy. Let's talk about it. Like, in the post-2020 moment when everybody needed a dying subject for a campaign, it was like, here we go. And it's like, oh,
baby,
fuck.
YouTube was throwing me, like, for the last 2 years,
Yeah.
had me doing all types of shit for Pride. Them bitches, I was checking spam, nothing.
They said, girl, this is fascism. Like, we stopped playing in your face. We're
They
back
said,
outside.
they
We're
said
back
we
outside.
the only thing I've been getting now is a HIV campaign, which I'm not mad at because I actually enjoy talking about sexual health and all of those things.
Yeah.
I actually did a podcast with Gilead called 0 Hour, and with the first episode, yes, I enjoyed the conversation. You all check it out. Leave a comment on the podcast and tell them the Kingarees did amazing. Of course, if you listen and enjoyed it, so they can invite me back.
Yes.
Because it's another conversation, but I do enjoy the opportunity to speak about sexual health, even if it's through Gilead and the work they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Well,
work they profit off of.
well,
Well.
we can.
We
Well,
can.
Is it my turn?
Is it?
Do you have the floor?
I let dark skinned people go last.
That sounds about right.
We have to be disciplined.
Yes. So I am also at Scalawag. I've been there now for the last year and a half.
Okay, good.
I'm editor at large there. I am in the process of starting the proposal for my second book. So, and it is on Desire. So a lot of the things you heard us talking about here today, it will be discussed in the book at length. A lot of the same people that T named will also be cited in that book. So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
It's gonna be a coloring book.
I will say that for folks who enjoy Belly of the Beast, it will be we're going to move in a different direction with this one.
So less color.
Right. I think that with this book, with Belly of the Beast, I wanted to introduce folks to these concepts in a way that was accessible. And in this book, those concepts are going to be talked about in a lot more depth in a way that might be read as academic.
And it should be.
But it is important that we learn the language to talk about these things. So that's in the process. I have a chapter in an anthology coming out next year, which I'm very excited about. It's a fat studies anthology. The title of my chapter is Anti-Fatness, Anti-Blackness, and Gender. No, that's not the title, but it's about gender, anti-fatness, and anti-blackness, and cis-sexism. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, that sounds cute.
I'm really proud of that essay or that chapter. I'm very excited about that to come out.
You are a writer.
I am a writer. It's true. Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of writing, a lot of written work, a lot of research right now, and also still speaking at places. So if y'all see this and y'all want me to come out somewhere, got the coin, and I'll be there. So yeah, very excited.
Yes, I actually love that you be doing all of those things.
Thank you.
What am I doing? Existing. That's all I can do, child. I don't have any big projects or anything going on, but y'all know you can find all the tea and who I'm fucking and who I'm not fucking on patreon.com/kinkerreads. That's where all the tea is at. I actually have a very interesting video to post next week. But that's what I'm working on. I'm very thankful to be sitting next to you all. We've done a lot over the last couple of years. Oh my gosh. But there is something big that I am working on now that I think about it.
Yes, there is.
Something, because we need education. I want the girls to learn. But I'm let these good folks get them a piece of a burger because they starve a piece, just a small piece, because we have to be summerfine.
We have to watch
Right.
We have to.
All wastes matter, though.
They do.
We need a slutty waist.
A slutty
slutty
waist.
waist.
Right.
Yeah. So you can catch me not in the likes of people who were talking about fatness all week. I love y'all so much. Until next week. Talk to y'all later. Bye.